Please help me welcome Loren Norris.
You know, there's a whole lot of people who are firmly convinced that if they just choose the right words, they can get you to do anything they want you to do. In fact, on many occasions, I'll have people come to me who will say, help me write the speech that sells, or help me to be a skilled communicator. And what they believe that to mean is, help me to become a master of words, of wordsmithing, and of articulation. Not just coming up with the words, but presenting them well. And I often tell them, I don't do that. I'm not here to write your speech. I'm here to squeeze your pineapple. That's what I want to talk about in this episode of Leading Leaders. Stay tuned. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast, and it really is fascinating to me the number of people who feel like if they just master the words, if they can just figure out exactly what to say, then they can become the master orator, the phenomenally well-known, the superstar, the influencer. They can rise to the top of the occasion. I believe that many of them think that if I can speak like X, whoever that is, and I don't mean X, the platform, I mean X as in solve for X, as in randomly identifying whoever you choose to put in that box. Amazing. Elon didn't even realize the confusion he was creating when he created X, but now we have to solve for X. A lot of people believe if they can just identify that person who communicates so clearly, so articulately, so well, and then emulate them, that they've got it won. They are golden. They have found their golden goose. They can make all the money they want to. In fact, nowadays we have AI that is faster than me, smarter than me. I dare say even more well-read than me. I mean, with all the books that I have in my library, between what you see behind me here and what you see over here, and everything that I've read and everything I've studied, and even access to all the stuff that I could get my hands on through instant search. I can't accumulate and train on and study and compare and be knowledgeable about the amount of information in my lifetime that artificial intelligence can parse through, disseminate, compare, craft something new, create something new in a matter of seconds. In fact, in milliseconds. Faster than I can say my name, artificial intelligence could write an entire speech for you. The whole thing, beginning to end. In fact, I was listening just this morning to an ad, and what they encourage you to use is this tool they call promptless AI, which means you don't even have to have an AI engineer who can speak into the software to make it do something specific. It does it on its own. It's already thinking for you. It's kind of, you set it on a task and you go, hey, go find me the best place to eat. And instead of spending 2 hours debating with your bride, where are we going to eat? What do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? Instead of playing that game, AI accelerates it and finds the conclusion before you can even start. Before you can say, I don't want to go to Wendy's, it's already decided what the ideal restaurant is. In fact, it may have already looked at your bank account to depend whether or not you can you even afford to eat there? Is there a coupon? Is there a special tonight? Is it on your list of restaurants? What about your allergies? See, I spent 30 years with my bride. I have to know most of those things. What's in the budget? How much can we spend today? Where do we want to go? What did we have last night? What did we have the day before? And all of that kind of plays into the decision making of, what are we going to cook? Are we going to cook at home? Are we going to go out? Are we going to go have dinner with friends? All of those answers are based on past knowledge. But all of the knowledge that I can accumulate and all of the knowledge that I can recall are nothing compared to AI. So if you have a promptless AI tool that you don't even have to tell it, hey, consider the allergies. What about our friends? Have you checked my schedule? What's within driving distance? How bad is the traffic if we're going to that place? All of those aspects kind of get pushed aside, and we have to think to ourselves, how important are those things? Now, I'm going somewhere with all this, I promise you, because the topic of today's talk, the theory, the notion, is brought to me by a memory of a conversation that I had with a client, a past client. It's been a few years ago now. But that client, almost 5 years ago now, wanted to run for political office. And when they came to me, they said, quote, help me speak like Jesse Waters. Well, recently after the election, I've been listening to all kinds of people from CNN to Bill Maher to you name it. And one of the people that I stumbled across listening to some of the election rehash was Jesse Waters. And now that I've had some time to listen to what he says and how he says it, I could see why this particular individual thought that would be some accomplishment. Jesse is very articulate. He's very quick-witted. He has some great one-liner jabs, punches to kind of throw in to spice up what he has to say. I would say he's well read. He's done his homework. He knows his field well. All of those things are good. But see, here's what a lot of people miss. All of the background knowledge, all of that understanding, all of that data, all of that ability to articulate the words and pronounce them just right. Better yet, the ability to choose the right word to say. I know a lot of people who are articulate, and by that I mean they have the ability to properly enunciate, properly accentuate, and even to put in the right place at the right time with the right rhythm and emphasis, the patterns of words that cause people to stop and listen closely. And yet even then, when I listen closely to what they say, I find that they choose a word whose pace, rhythm, emphasis, accentuation, they fit really well into that spot in the sentence. They sound good in the flow of words, but they don't mean what they think it means. Those words have a different meaning than the speaker intended to carry across. Oh, they said it well. They said it in perfect timing with just the right emphasis. But the word they said betrayed them. And here's where the challenge comes in. When you have a speechwriter who has a whole lot of knowledge and information, and they make a mistake, as the speaker, as the communicator, as the teacher, as the leader, as the influencer that you are recognized to be, you are held accountable for the words that your speechwriter inserted into the speech. Maybe you saw the whole drama around the comedian who took the stage at the last Republican rally, and at that rally he said some things that were wildly accusatory, inappropriate, unfounded, racist. And of course, everybody who was offended by that wanted to point back to the candidate himself and say, look, this is who he had on his stage. And I can't say that they're wrong, because as a leader, you're responsible for what your team presents to the world. I mean, there's only so much responsibility that you can take, but the buck does stop with you. And eventually, you've got to be accountable for that. You've got to know what you're getting yourself into, so to speak, when you bring somebody like that forward. But let me also say, when you're the speaker, when you're the presenter, whether it's the teleprompter or it's the speech on the table in front of you, or even if you penned it with your own hand, sometimes a good speaker will actually take words from somebody else. In fact, I just saw a post about it. I believe it's probably running live right now on LinkedIn. And the title of the presentation is How to Use Other People's Stories. I have spent the last decade or more trying to train people to use their own stories. Why? Because you're not an AI robot. You can't get it right every single time about what somebody else lived through. The opportunity, the potential of taking someone else's story and bringing it forward with an entirely wrong meaning is very, very high. The propensity is very high. Why? Well, because the way they live through it and the way you experience it in the hearing, in the listening, in the retelling, probably not the same. Probably not the same. Why? Well, because your past experiences, your confirmation biases, the journey that you have personally lived through, it's entirely different than theirs. If you were run over by a lawnmower when you were 8, you may be terrified of lawnmowers. You only use the old manual style now because you're not going to take a chance of being run over by a lawnmower. And that could be 5 decades later. Somebody else may remember the smell of the fresh grass and think how funny it is to get run over by your own lawnmower. It's not traumatizing to them. It's comical. It's downright funny that somebody actually lived through that. See how diametrically opposed those two experiential worldviews are? See, here's one thing that AI that may be writing your speeches for you cannot do. Feel. And so the ability for a leader who becomes a master skilled articulator, a master skillful wordsmith, a master of the story, the ability to tell the story, to dramatize the story, to dramatic reinterpretation of the story. It's an awesome tool. It's a great thing to have. It's a great tool to know, but it doesn't mean that you've lived through that story, that you've experienced that story, that you know what it means to have that experience. That is an entirely different thing. And that is a thing that has a different kind of value to it. See, when I say I'm not here to write your speech, I'm here to squeeze your pineapple, here's what I really mean by that. My job as a communications coach with a focus in leadership, or a leadership coach with a focus in communication, you can flip those around either way you want. Here's the truth. My job isn't to write your speeches for you. It's to squeeze you until what comes out of you is speech worthy. Until you become the kind of person in the maturity, in the mastery of your own persona, in the mastery of your own life and experiences, until you become the kind of person that people look to and go, I want to be like that. Not necessarily in the skill set of communication, not necessarily in the job that you have, not necessarily in your appearance, your hair color, your suit, your car. None of that. The who that you are deep down inside. When people look at you and go, I like that person, I want to be like that person, then you've reached the level where the things that you have to say, and it's best, it's better, it's admirable when you have a strong vocabulary and you know what those words mean, when you have the ability to articulate them and string them together with just the right emphasis at just the right time. All of those things are they're powerful and they're masterful and they're necessary, but what's more important is to be the kind of person that people want to follow. We know AI has the ability to read the best sales copy in the world, to read some of the old speeches of persuasion that politically changed the landscape of the globe. Some of those speeches are 3 or 4 minutes long. Some of those are just strong quotes. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe it was Winston Churchill who said, do not mistake my kindness for weakness. And there are a lot of people who did not like Winston Churchill. He was too gruff. He was too worldly. He was too into everything. He was a bit of a womanizer for a season in his life. He used some foul language for a season in his life. And a lot of people thought, that guy is not worthy of being a diplomat. But he understood the issues of the day. He understood the problems the world was facing. And he was a pit bull on the freedom of his nation. He was determined to see them come through the war with their national integrity intact. That determination, his ability to articulate, his ability to stand up to people who disagreed with him, who defamed him, who demoralized him. His ability to walk forward in the case of his cause outweighed even his ability to articulate his agenda to the masses. My job isn't to write your speech for you. And I would encourage you not to let AI write your speech for you either. Can it do the research? Yes, it can. Can it do the homework? Absolutely. Will it know things about the past that you probably haven't had a chance to read? Can it parse the difference between a Thomas Sowell world of economics and other forms of economics? Would it look at Thomas Sowell's ideas of capitalism versus communism versus socialism and draw the right conclusions? Well, it would draw a conclusion. Whether it's right or not, it might be yet to be seen. Here's the better question. If it did put those words down just perfectly, would you agree with them? And could you back it up if you said it? If you said it from the platform because AI wrote this fantastic speech for you and you emphasized it and you dramatically read it at just the right time, and then somebody said, well, do you really believe that that's what Thomas Sowell meant by that when he used those words? Did Winston Churchill really mean I'm not weak when he said don't mistake my kindness for weakness? Maybe he was really meaning the opposite, that I am weak and so the only thing I can do is be kind because I have no position to bargain from. Because you'd have to take that sentence and juxtapose it against the art of war or the art of the deal and ask yourself the question, would I rather be kind or weak or strong and not so kind? Are they indispensably connected to each other in a way that I cannot take them apart? Kindness and weakness, gruffness and strength? Is that how it works? Or is there such a thing as kind strength? I don't know. But if you don't know the answer to that question, your willingness to quote the quote without having dug into even your own psychology, even your own stance on it, even your own position on it, to quote that quote with the boldness that it came from Winston Churchill today would cause people to look at you and go, but is that who you really are? Or is that just someone you look to and go, yeah, we should be more like that guy? Because what they really want to know in the leader they're searching for, in the influencer they follow, is who are you? In fact, that question was famously asked in a biblical context. There was a guy who was trying to do the work of the prophets who were walking around and casting out demons and telling people where to go and all that kind of stuff. And one of the demons, one of these spiritual entities, approached them and said, what are y'all doing? And they're like, in the name of, get out. And the demon went, excuse me, I'm sorry, but I know who you're talking about. You know, both those guys that you mentioned, I know them, but I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. What gives you the authority to tell us what to do? What gives you the right to tell us what to do? Now, you can take that from a biblical standpoint, and I hope that you would, because, wow, that's a big deal, and there are a whole lot of people that are living their lives today playing the same game, practicing the same practice, and it's eternally scary. But you could take that right back to high school. Yeah. You could take that right back to middle school. You could take that to the playground right now, because there are a whole lot of people who will tell you, you're not the boss of me. You don't get to tell me what to do. You don't get to decide. In fact, there are people right now who are holding political office, and some who have not even been elected. They've been appointed or hired, and they've been in the same job for decades, longer than your children have been alive, who are refusing to follow the elected choice of the American people. They've been told, here's your new leader. He has new ideas. We like his ideas. As a population of American citizens, we want to go that direction. And these people are going, you're not the boss of me. I don't have to do what you tell me to. You'll be gone in 4 years. We'll start this process over again. And in the meantime, I'm going to do what I want to do. We have a 2-year-old that's around our house on a regular basis. And on a regular basis, we'll tell her, don't play with that. It's hot. I looked over last night and she was pushing the button on the water dispenser, letting all of the fresh water run out all over the floor while she was trying to fill the doggy bowl. Because she couldn't hold the doggy bowl with both hands because it was getting too heavy. She had to have both hands, but she couldn't push the button. So she would set the doggy bowl down on the floor and then run water all over the place. And I said, stop playing with the water dispenser. And she said, no. Excuse me? Yes, I am the boss of you right now. So stop playing with the water dispenser. This becomes a debate. Well, let me ask you, if you're the most persuasive, the most articulate, the most expressive, the most demonstrative speaker in the world, but you don't possess the authority to lead people the way that you want them to go, or the way that they need to go, or even the way that they want to go, if you don't have the authority to take them where they need to go, what good is your beautiful speech? What good is your beautiful collection of words? Why bother delivering them if no one who hears them can be transformed by them? Because they have no authority. And why might they have no authority? Because you don't know what you're talking about. Because somebody else wrote your speech for you. Because the teleprompter froze. The teleprompter froze. The teleprompter froze. The teleprompter, because I'm waiting on the next words to show up, right? No, I don't have one. In case you noticed when I ran the 3 cameras around, I don't use a teleprompter. I speak from the heart. I do my homework before I turn the camera on, and I speak from the heart about what I've already researched and studied, the stories that I've already lived through. Why? Because those are my experiences. Those are my knowledge. Oh yeah, they're fed by all these books around me because I've read cover to cover about 65 to 70% of them. Some of them are just resources. Some of them I purchased and haven't gotten to yet. But I intend to read all of them cover to cover because I want to know what I'm talking about in all of the fields that I talk about, in leadership and personal growth and personal development. But you've got to master you. You've got to study the history that involves you. You've got to study the history that involves the course of the cause that you want to talk about. Who do you help and how? Those are the first 2 questions for anybody who wants to be a better leader and a better communicator. Who do you help? What's your cause? What's the purpose? What's the pain? What's the solution? How do you help them? What does that solution look like? What is the process? What system have you developed? And if you can't answer those 2 questions, then let's go back to the drawing board and let's ask the real question, who are you? See, clients that work with me, when I squeeze their pineapple, we don't let up on those 2 questions until we have an answer that rolls off the tongue that can be answered in a 30-second elevator speech every single time in any environment to anybody who is a potential customer or a potential referral. Who do you help and how? I help leaders tell better stories better. How deep do you want me to go in that? Do you know enough right now to know if you're a potential client of mine, if there might be some way that I can help you? Are you a leader? I want to be a leader. I can help you. But I'm a leader now, but I need to be a better communicator. I can help you tell better stories better. Tell better stories about yourself to the people that need to hear them. And I can help you tell them in a way that's going to make an influence in people's lives. And yet, even then, it doesn't start with the quality of the speech. It starts with the quality of the leader. The who that you are before the what that you say. That's my whole point. I've worked with hundreds of people, thousands of young people who didn't have a clue what tomorrow was going to look like. They didn't know what their future was going to be. They didn't have a vision for tomorrow until we started working together. But we also found that as they looked in the mirror, by the time they were done with the 9 lessons of mastery, they had a different vision of themselves. They had a different look of themselves. They knew who they were better at the end of 9 lessons of mastery than they did before they started it. And I'm offering the same opportunity to you. I don't care where you are in your leadership. Maybe it's a refresher course. Maybe it's something you're looking at going, I need some mentoring content to use in my corporation or to work on with my teens. Dive into the 9 lessons of mastery. There's a link in the description. When you're ready to take that to the next level, when you've mastered the who that you are, and you're ready to work on the stories that you tell from the platform, there's another level for that. It's called Story Power Academy. You can dive into that too. It's all found in the same place. It's all in the Leadership and Communications Academy that I've created. Love for you to be a part of that. Just remember, Leaders don't just lead with the words that they say. AI can do that. Leaders lead through the words that they say. Because the words that you say can be manipulated. They can be manipulative. They can be intentionally persuasive, perfectly articulated, well crafted, and well selected. And if they don't represent who you are, then you just have a great speech, not a great speaker or a great speech giver. My challenge to you is to be the latter. Be a great speech giver because you're a great person as a leader who speaks. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast, or Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. I encourage you to go to storypoweracademy.com and check it out. Look at the different classes, the different levels, the different things that are available. You can take a lot of them a la carte. But spend some time there and see if that's the kind of thing that would change the way you communicate as a leader, as a pastor, as a counselor, as a political leader. And if that will help you, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Again, only 10 people in the Elite Speakers. You will have to apply for that. But if you're a candidate, I'd love to have that conversation with you. I'm Loren Norris with Story Power Academy. I look forward to seeing you inside.